Buda. I'm a collegiate rower for Columbia University, and this is The American Athlete. Simplicity is key, but you have to do the complicated stroke in a simple way. I was running track and field. It was my sophomore year of high school, and when COVID came, the entire track team, along with the school, shut down. So I was left with no sport. I was left with no outlet for my competitive nature. I was sitting at the beach one day. It was basically the only place you could go for any type of freedom. And my brother, who rowed at the time, and his friends were telling me, well, the Newport Aquatic Center is open. The tryout's tomorrow. Why didn't you go try out? I fell in love with it. I did the tryout the next day and loved it. And that was my shift during COVID.
Let's go, JB. Push back right away.
I would say the most important thing is having a cohesive boat, having 8 girls and a coxswain who are like a unit. The boat itself can be broken down in a few ways, and each team does it differently. In my experience, it started off, a boat is put together based on erg scores, which is the rowing machine, or the torture device as we like to call it. You do tests on this rowing machine, and based on your times, you are put in a group with 7 other girls who are around your speed. But then you need to look at where each girl sits in the boat. The powerhouse is the middle of the boat. Those are the biggest, tallest, strongest girls who light a fire under the boat. Then you have the girls in stern, which is the back of the boat. And those are the 2 girls, 7 and 8 seat, that set a rhythm. Then you have the 2 girls in bow. They sit there and they make sure that the girls in front of them are supported from the front of the boat, which is actually very challenging. So it's really hard to put together a solid boat that you know is going to be the fastest. But when you do, and those girls learn how to row together and learn how to be cohesive, that's when you get magic on water. On the day, anything can happen. The tide can switch, the wind can switch. So you can't really pay attention to the other team's times. You can only focus on doing everything you can to better yourself. This year, my team placed 5th in the nation, which we are extremely proud of. It was definitely that moment of peace, which is crazy to think of because when you're racing, the blood is leaving your brain and going into your arms and legs, so you just black out. It's hard to believe that in that moment, all 9 of us, including the coxswain, knew that we did everything we could, and it was just time to rage down the course. My favorite part is having this community and being able to laugh and cry with these girls and hang out outside of practice, be able to wake up at 5 a.m. and your eyes are barely opening. It's pitch black outside and cold in winter, and you know that you're gonna have a good time at practice because you have these amazing friends. Everyone will say erging is the worst part. Every time you step on it, there's just this pang in your stomach telling you to please get off, please spare me. But it's also character building, and erging is what makes a fast team even faster. So my outlet outside of rowing is blogging, specifically about sustainability in fashion. I have been researching and studying and exposing myself to it since a very young age. I could get into the whole world of microplastics and landfills and how that affects public health. So I've had a lot of research, and my passion outside of rowing is studying this and finding ways to end fast fashion. The recruiting process was very stressful. Usually coaches will come, watch you row, but I had my recruiting process during COVID, which meant all they had was times and videos. So it was definitely a very stressful and long recruiting process, especially because it had to be done by email. I knew that I wanted to go to a team where I felt at home and where I felt like I was wanted and where I felt like the girls had this community. That was the first step in me choosing Columbia. The second thing was I knew I wanted to be on a competitive team. And the third step in my recruiting process was I looked for academic prestige. I knew I wanted to be at a school that pushed me academically, and Columbia is just the place for that. And I also am an aspiring journalist, and I knew that Columbia, being the epicenter of journalism, was the place that was best for me.